Bluffton University professor Dr. Perry Bush is our guest today, and so much has been going on, especially where former President Donald Trump is concerned. We've got a listing here that we're going to put up of the former president's charges against him, and lawsuits and financial and tax information. Lawsuits abound right now, so this is really starting to take its toll on him.
I tell you what, Lynn, this just is mind-boggling what's going on. I mean, we were here a couple of months ago. I was talking about this big breakthrough, the first president or ex-president ever been indicted, and about this documents case. But since that, I mean, it's mind-blowing what's going on. I mean, you try to catalog these things. I've been working with a nice little summary from New York Times reporter Charlie Savage. And, you know, what we're talking about is the former president, Trump, has been now indicted on 91 separate felony charges. And of course, there's the documents one we already talked about, 40 counts of making off classified documents and defying a federal subpoena. That's going to go to trial. It's hard to know when, perhaps in May. The prosecutor's pushing for May in Florida in front of a more Trump sympathetic judge. But then, of course, the even bigger ones perhaps happened this month, in which prosecutor Jack Smith several weeks ago filed 4 criminal counts against President Trump alone in federal court in Washington, D.C., charging him with a criminal conspiracy to overturn the 2020 presidential election, defraud the government, disenfranchise voters, obstruct an official proceeding. It's unclear when that will go to trial. That may be fast-tracked before the 2024 election because of its deep implications for democracy and whether or not Americans can trust a presidential election and hold accountable someone who Smith charges tried to overthrow it. And that will be in front of a federal D.C. Judge Tanya Chutkan in D.C. And then just last week, you know, we all know the Fulton County prosecutor Fani Willis charged Trump with 13 felony counts, criminal counts relating to his efforts to overthrow the election of the 2020, overthrow the results of the 2020 election in Georgia. And this is very different from Smith's indictment of Trump in D.C. because Willis has also included 18 of Trump's allies with whom she says Trump was working, and she's building from an extensive anti-racketeering law in Georgia that has usually been used to prosecute mobsters. Again, it's hard to know when that will go to trial. Willis is pushing to have that go to trial in March. Trump is, of course, with all these, his lawyers are already trying to delay all these trials until after the presidential election of 2024, and they may pull it off. Just the criminal conspiracy to overturn the election charged by Jack Willis, they're saying we have to review millions of pages of documents. There's no way we can do that in a few months. And what Trump is hoping, of course, is that he can push these off till after the 2024 election, when the president, which he hopes will be Republican, in fact, he hopes will be him, can instruct his attorney general not to prosecute. That wouldn't help him in Georgia because, you know, there's no way the president can pardon anybody accused of a state crime. But on the other hand, there's no Watergate era ruling by the Justice Department that you don't prosecute sitting presidents. So, I mean, who knows when this will all go to trial? It still is mind-boggling the amount of charges that the former president is facing.
Very quickly, as we're down to our last 30 seconds, it seems like every time another indictment gets levied against former President Trump, his numbers just keep going up higher and higher. So does his fundraising. Do you think some people are just feeling that this is turning into a witch hunt at this point?
That's certainly what Trump's people are saying. It's a witch hunt. That's what, you know, Congressman Jim Jordan is saying. It's piling on. We don't need this. On the other hand, you know, arguably, Lynn, the President of the United States is a citizen. And we all remember what President Trump as a candidate said in 2016 when he was charging Hillary Clinton with hiding emails. I mean, he was leading his audiences in this charge of lock her up. And she hadn't been indicted of a crime, much less convicted. Well, you know, if it was wrong then, it's wrong now. Americans are considered innocent until convicted of guilt. And we all deserve to do that with all Americans, including the former president.
Dr. Perry Bush of Bluffton University, thank you so much for your time today, and we'll be back with more right after this.